Hello and welcome back to the Marketing Automation Implementation course. In this section of the tutorial, we're going to cover the communication channels that are most frequently used in the marketing automation system, namely in User Engage. So first, we're going to connect all the different accounts that we have to prepare, and then we'll cover creating new campaigns and sending messages. It turns out that most messaging channels require some sort of setup before they can be used effectively. For example, in case of email, it's recommended to connect your own SMTP and IMAP. In case of sending SMS messages, you need to buy a number from which you will send those messages. When it comes to web push notifications, you have to implement special scripts on your website. And in terms of a call, you need to also buy a number from which you will call your users. So we'll start the setup with email SMTP. So I go to Settings, SMTP Settings, and I click Create New. Okay, so here I will use my Gmail account, so I will stay here with smtp.gmail.com. Email address is going to be @userengage.com. The user will be the same, reply to address the same. Password, this is the password to your email account. Now, sender name is Lech, and I'll select TLS because it's Gmail, and 587, I think it was the port number for Gmail. Set default for agents, of course, for me, and this is it. Now I can save changes and let's see if it worked. As you can see, now I have created a new SMTP connection, so I will be able to use it to send messages from now on. Now I will set up the same thing with IMAP settings. So let's start. I'll use Gmail. And this setting gave me the correct port number and hostname. I will go with lech@userengage.com. When you select this setting, it will download your contacts from your email and include them in the database. But I will not do this right now. The username is this. Password, of course, again to my email account. And the user is this one. Now I can save. Let's see if it works. Great, now I have SMTP connection in place. Now the messages sent from the people who are in my database will be included in their timelines. Great, let's move on with the setup. Now let's go to SMS. We're now in the SMS section of the application. As you can see, we have to buy an SMS number before we can start actually sending campaigns. However, before we can buy a number, we have to provide the address of our company and provide the credit card number. That is because User Engage is integrated with Twilio, and in order to buy a number from Twilio, you have to spend around $4 to actually buy the number. We have to bill it some way, so when you're on trial, you still have to provide the credit card number in order to be able to start sending SMS. The company address step, however, is also dictated by requirements of Twilio. So let's start with the first thing. Now we can click Add a credit card and provide all the information necessary. After you do that, we will come back to the SMS campaigns and buy a number. Alright, now we have to provide our company address in the right section. And finally, we're able to actually buy the phone number inside User Engage. Alright, so I'm now in the section where I can finally buy the number. All I have to provide is the name, so I'll call it sales number. This will help me identify this number on a list of other numbers. Now, the country. I will go with Poland, for which I do not have to provide the address, but if you're using, for example, United States, then you sure should provide an address. Now, description, it will be just description and the phone number type. Mobile and local, depending on your option and the country, you might find numbers or you might not find available numbers. So in my case, I will stay with mobile numbers. Now, capabilities. As far as I know, in Poland, Twilio does not offer numbers that can be both used for SMS and voice, so I will just find those that can be used for sending SMS. Now let's search the available phone numbers database. And now here it is. So it's a full list of phone numbers and I can buy any of those. Right, I'll just buy the first one. Great, as you can see, the phone number has been bought and it now appears on my list of phone numbers and it enables me to send SMS. We'll have to perform a similar situation in terms of the phone call number because we'll have to buy another number to perform voice calls. But now you know the process and you already have the address and the credit card connected, so it will be a lot faster. Right, let's move on. Now the web push settings. I'm now in the settings, so the first thing I have to do is choose whether or not I have an HTTPS supported website. So let's say I do not have HTTPS supported website. Now I have to choose a domain to which all the web push notifications will link. And that page in turn will link to your website. This is because if you do not have HTTPS account, you're not able to send push notifications that link directly to your page. This is why you will use our domain, which does have the certificate, and we will link your push notification visitors straight to your account. So now you can select your subdomain. I will call it webpushdomain.webpush.com. Now it's a full list of phone numbers and I can buy any of those. Right, I'll just buy the first one. Great, as you can see, the phone number has been bought and it now appears on my list of phone numbers and it enables me to send SMS. In this step, I designed the prompt that will ask the user if they want to subscribe to my push notifications and other settings. So the first thing I have to do is enable web push subscription prompt. This will prompt the user to ask if he wants those notifications. The next thing is I have to select default icon. I will use, well, my own picture. Okay, so this can stay. Now I go to dialog settings. So this text is here, as you can see, this text is here, and the buttons. For me, those are all right for now. Then I go to page settings. When you don't have HTTPS, you need to show another website which does have HTTPS and make the user click subscribe on that page so that that page actually sends those push notifications, because it's only allowed to send them from HTTPS website. So if you don't have HTTPS, you need to use this kind of solution. For me, this text is pretty much alright, so I'll just save the settings. Alright, now that we've bought a number, we already have SMTP and IMAP connected, and we're pretty much ready to start sending campaigns. So let's go through the idea of what campaign is and how it works. Basically, campaign is a way of sending the same message, or it could be personalized message, to many users, either at the same time or gradually by triggering sending the email using automation. Now we're in a list of campaigns. Of course, we don't have any campaign created yet, but we'll create one in a second. At the top, you can see different stats regarding my email campaigns. Of course, now they're empty and there are no emails sent, delivered, and so on. But once we start delivering and sending emails, those stats will update. So what else can we see? On the left, you have categories and you can create a new category. This is just for you to organize the way your campaigns work so that it's a lot easier for you to find the right campaign when it's needed. On the right side, you have a button for creating new campaigns and the resource drop-down. Here you can see messages, templates, media, and archived campaigns. So now, what are those elements? The first one is the message. Message is basically sort of an email copy. So it's not the same as email campaign, because an email campaign contains an email message. Email campaign is rather a construct that helps you deliver messages, and messages are within the campaigns. So each time we create a new campaign, we'll create a new message or use another message we've already created before. Now, templates. Templates are basically, well, templates for messages. Those are saved messages that allow you to, instead of doing everything from scratch, you can just adjust the templates and create new ones. Media, this is a place where you can upload your files, such as images or files that you will use inside your email messages. Now archived campaigns, each campaign you can archive so that it's not in this view anymore. And here you can see sort of deleted or archived campaigns because they can be always revoked and reactivated. Alright, now we can go through the process of creating an email campaign. I'll click Create New. And in this first view, I basically fill in the basic details such as the name, so I'll just type in name of my campaign. Category, I don't have any categories created yet. Those two categories, single recipients, they include campaigns that are not created for like mass delivery. They're just one-time emails delivered to particular users. So for example, when I'm in the people section and I can just click send email and type it in, then it will land as a campaign, but in this special folder, so that it doesn't make mess in my list of campaigns. Now description, this is the description of my email. And now the key decision. So what kind of campaign should that be? The first type, the simple campaign, as it's written, it's a one-time campaign to your contacts. So we've uploaded some contacts through a CSV file, or we just captured them on my website using a subscription form. And those contacts are currently in my database. And I might send them a one-time email such as, we have a new feature, guys, and you should check it out. So this is a simple email that you'll just deliver to your contacts. You can schedule it for later, for example, in the next 2 weeks, and it will be delivered next week or 2 weeks from now. But it's a single one-time delivery. While for automation is strictly created for, well, automation. So for example, that could be an email such as, welcome to the service after logging in. So those kind of emails are the same, but delivered at different times to different people, depending on their behavior using automation. So in this case, you do not have a list of recipients of an email like in the simple campaign. Here you just specify what kind of message should be delivered, and then you automate it through automations right here. Okay, so for now I will choose, well, let's go with simple campaign. Okay, next step. Now it's time to include email messages or an email message inside my campaign. I need to do that because as I said before, an email campaign is a way of structuring the delivery of email message. So now I have to specify the message that I want to deliver. Now let's start with the first one. As you can see on the left, I have 3 categories. I have layouts, templates, and messages. So layouts are predefined sort of templates that we deliver for you as user engaged. So as you can see, there are quite a lot of different layouts for your emails that you can use. Templates are sort of layouts but created by you. As I described before, templates are just saved messages that you can reuse later. And messages. Messages are simply when you create a campaign and send it, then all of the messages that you deliver are stored right here, so you can copy and edit ones that you already had. So how should we start? Well, maybe let's start with a ready-to-use layout, and let's use this one. Now I'm in a drag and drop editor for emails. You might experience a different editor right here. This is one that is going to be deprecated soon. So, but as you can see, I can just edit my message right here, add an unsubscribe button, and so on. For now, I will not edit this email, I'll just save it. Now I have to provide the name of this message. I will go with email message name 1. Email subject. Now this is visible to the receiver, so I have to provide the headline of the email. So I'll go with welcome to user engage mailing. Category, of course, I don't yet have any category for email messages, and the author will be me. Now I can save it, and as you can see, it's right here. I think you'll have a different image right here. Alright, so why am I still able to add another message? Because in some cases you might want to compare different messages and decide which one converts better or which one has better impact on your visitors. So by adding another message, I create an A/B test, which will give me data on how each email performs, so that later I can make sort of a full-scale delivery with the better version. Alright, let's go to the next step. Now I can select my receivers. As you can see, the system has already filtered only users who have an email address, but of course I can only send email to people who have a working email, so that's it, and this one also should work. So on the right you can see the filters and segments right here. Those will enable you to filter the receivers of your email message. So for example, I can go with email contains Lech. I'll search, and now there are 2 people. Once I search, I can just click next and all of the people visible will be active in a campaign. Another way to add visitors to the campaign is simply to click this button. But if I click one button here and click next, only one person will receive that. If nobody is selected, then everyone who's visible right here will receive the message. All right, next step. Now it's the summary of the email campaign. As you can see, the name is this, category is this, description is here, the type of the email, so simple or automated, is also here, recipients count 2, and now time zone. So this is the time zone of delivery of the email message. This will be automatically selected for my time zone that I've chosen in my user profile. But as you can see, I can also select a date when I want to schedule the delivery. Of course, I can send the email immediately, then it doesn't really matter because it will be sent immediately, or I can schedule a date. Each agent in your app is assigned sort of a default domain from which their emails are being delivered by user engage. If you have your own SMTP, you can send it from SMTP. But if you want to send it from a default domain of another agent, so for example, you create the campaign, but you want it to be sent from the default domain of another user, then you can choose them from the dropdown. But right now there's only one user here, so I will use a custom SMTP, and from the dropdown I'll choose this one. So this is my own SMTP, and I want to send this email immediately. Right, now here's a copy of my email. And if I had more emails here, this number will tell me what percent of the receivers of the email will receive this one or this one. In case I use automated messages, it will send one email to this user and then the next one to this user, and so on and so on. Alright, now I can save this email campaign as a draft or deliver it. I think I'll just deliver it. In some cases, if your campaign is really large, so for example, if you send 1 million emails or 100,000 emails, then this might take a little bit before all the emails are delivered when you use a default SMTP, our SMTP. In case you use Gmail or other services like Gmail, you need to bear in mind that there are limits regarding the number of emails you can send at once. So when you use a simple campaign, make sure that you're not using Gmail account for delivering like 1,000 emails at once. It will not work. So in those cases, what you have to do is you have to use for automation. Even if you want to send just to your receivers, you need to use for automations, go to automations, include a date and time trigger set for like in 5 minutes, then delay with random delay that will give for each user a different date within, for example, like 5 days or within 1 day or within 2 hours, and it will deliver it gradually. So that's the case with Gmail SMTP or Yahoo SMTP and others. Alright, so my campaign is here right now. Now we can create another campaign, but this time I'll use the for automation campaign. So for automation campaign. For automation, I will not include any description, it's not necessary. And select the first email. I will use the same email. Save it. Right, I can save it. Done. Next step. And as you could see, I did not have to choose the people who receive the email address, because it's obvious that the people who receive it will have to be triggered from automation, so we don't know who that is at this point. All right, now I can save this campaign. So as you can see, this email campaign has 2 recipients and 2 emails have already been sent. So when I go to my email account, as you can see, there is this message. And let's take a look, who was it delivered from? From lech@userengage.com, reply to lech@userengage.com. So as you can see, the email has been delivered. Now let's take a look at all the resources that we have. First, we'll go to messages. As you can see, there are 2 messages, one for automation message and the second one, email message name 1. Because I've created 2 messages, I can change them by going to update, and I can just change the content of them. I can copy them or archive. And as you could see, email messages can also be archived. I can go to archive messages. Of course, there are none. So now let's go back to email campaigns and let's see the templates. The template section is still empty because I have not created any templates so far. Another great thing that you can see is that I already have the data regarding my emails that have been delivered, opened, and scheduled. As you remember, I've opened one of the messages, and as you can see, the data checks. Now, most frequently sent emails, as you can see, there is the email message name 1. It has been opened once and delivered to 2 users. And the same applies here. This is the number of emails sent, and the number is 2 today. Also, this element has changed, so now it shows that 50% of the emails that I delivered were opened. All right, and this sort of structure of an email campaign and everything that's connected with it, so the stats, the categories, the way it's being created, the logic behind email messages, campaigns, templates, and so on, this is identical for all the campaigns, and it's even very similar for HTML blocks, but we'll cover those sections later. Now, having those 2 campaigns ready, I can move forward to automating, delivering this automated campaign to my users. So let's go to automations and create a new automation. So the trigger will be an event. I want to deliver a campaign when the user buys some product. So when the event purchase details takes place, I want to trigger delivering this email message. So email campaign is here. And of course I choose for automation campaign. Now I can save it and exit. Email campaign automation, each time the condition is met, and save it. Now let's buy some product and see if it works. Add this to cart, go to checkout. Right, this is fine. And the purchase has been made. Now I can go to my user profile and refresh the page. As you can see, the purchase details event took place a few seconds ago, and right after that I have received the email. So there has been a success regarding sending this email campaign. Now let's go to my email address and see if it was delivered. As you can see, the email is here, it's visible. Now let's refresh the timeline once again. As you can see, the system has noted that I have opened this email and also generated an element of timeline regarding this action. This time I'm going to create an SMS campaign. I've jumped straight to the process of creating it, but of course when you go to campaigns and SMS, you will have this loading page on which you just have to click create your first SMS campaign. And this is where I am right now. So let's start with the process of creating the campaign. As before, we have to provide this basic information. So name, my first SMS campaign, description, and I will go with for automation and next step. The same panel, I need to add a message. So the name of this message will not be visible to the user. It will only be visible to other agents. So the name will be my first SMS message. and the body will go, hi there, it's an SMS message. Alright, so I can save it, and as you can see, it appears right here. Right, so now I can go to the next step, and which is the last step. So as you can see, currently I do not have quota which would enable me to send this campaign to my users or save it to be sent automatically using automations, because I would have to upgrade my account to a paid tier. Now, but as you can see, in this panel I'm able to select the phone number from which I want to send this SMS message. Of course, I only have one number at this point, so not much to choose from, and here's the content of my message. So for now I will save it as a draft. And now I am back on the list of SMS campaigns right now. As before, I can go to Resources, SMS Messages, and find the message that I have just created. Now I will show you how to use a message that you've already created in your SMS campaign. So I'll create another campaign, call it another SMS campaign, go for automations, next step, add an SMS message, and this time I will use load existing message. And as you can see, this message that I've created before is right here. What I can do is copy and edit it so that it's not the same message, like technically. I will copy the content and now I'm able to adjust the content and save it as another message. So it's saved and I can go to the next step. Again, I will save it as a draft. Great, so this is how you save SMS messages. What is really important that in order to be able to send the message to your users, their format has to look like this. But of course, in most cases, you'll get phone numbers from like a pop-up form or from filling out a form on your website, so they will be structured a little bit differently. For example, without this prefix. So what can you do about it? One thing you can do is filter your users in the people section to find all the people that have any value in the phone number section, export those users, then open them in Excel or in Google Docs to be able to edit this en masse, and then using the features of a spreadsheet, simply fix it. So for example, delete all the spaces inside the numbers, or delete all the dashes, all the underscores, and so on. Also, you'll then be able to find all the numbers that do not have this country prefix. So for example, you could add the American prefix or whatever the country is, the main country in your case. So this is what you can do to make sure that the SMS messages that are actually delivered to your users. The next campaign that we're going to cover is web push campaign. Of course, what we mean here is it's a web push. So it's not a mobile push, it's one that is delivered to the user's browser and it appears here in form of a small pop-up. Right, so let's create the first web push campaign. My first web push campaign. And of course, you're familiar with this system. As before, we also have simple and for automation. Next step, new push message. And now I have to include the new push title, and this is the content of this web push message. All right. Now I can also include an image for the notification, such as my own picture. Well, it's not very pretty, but well, it works. Now, when you click on this, the user should be redirected to some page. So I will send them to userengage.com, or maybe more specifically, I will send them to my app. All right, so the link appears here and I can call it my app. This is the name of this web push message. All right, so all of this has been provided. I can also load existing messages as we did in case of SMS messages. The location of this button might be a little bit different, but basically it works the same way. Okay, I go click next. And as you can see, I got an error that my URL is not valid. That is because, as you can see, I lack the prefix, so HTTP or something like that. So I'll redirect them to userengage.com. I'll just copy the URL address of this page and paste it here. Let's see if that works. Right, brilliant. My first message is here. I can also include another message as before. I go to next step. Now, I do not have any people in here. Why is that? This is because the only people who will appear here are those who signed up for my web push delivery. And sadly, nobody did. I will select for automation for this web push campaign. And as you can see, this is it. I'm now ready to save it and make it active so that I can use it in an automation. All right, I can save it. And it's ready. This was pretty easy, and I'm sure that once you get familiar with the idea of messages, campaigns, and all of that, this will be very easy for you. Another form of communication that we're going to cover are HTML blocks. You can find them in Tools, HTML blocks. So what is an HTML block? It is an element that helps you personalize the experience of the website user. So basically what you have to do is that you have to select an element of the page and provide an alternative code that will be pasted in the place of the previous element. So this simple tool will switch the content of some element for one that you've prepared. And the one that you've prepared can include user-receiver tags. So something like receiver first name. So you can customize and personalize your website experience to include customer data. Right, now let's create a new HTML block. I'm sure you're a little bit familiar with this view because it's very similar to the way campaigns work. I have to provide a name for my HTML block, a class name. So now I have to find an element on the page that I want to change. So this is the class of the element that I will swap. I will change it into something else. So I thought maybe this header could be changed into, instead of just welcome, I could change it into welcome and the first name of the visitor if it's known to the system. So I go inspect. So the first thing I have to do after going to inspect is I have to copy the class of this element. You have to bear in mind that the class should be unique on the page, otherwise you will change all of the elements with this class on the page. So it's better to be very specific with those classes. I will not provide a description and move on. Now I have to provide a code replacement, so this code that will be pasted instead of the element with the class that I've provided in the previous step. So what can we paste here? I'm not going to completely change it into something else, I just want to alter it. So I go back here and I go inspect and I will copy element. I'll copy this entire element and paste it here. This time, however, I'm going to add something here. So I go receiver dot first name. This should work. So instead of welcome, I will have welcome Lech or welcome Peter John and so on. As you can see, I can load an existing replacement from the HTML block that I've created before, but it's not necessary. So I can move forward, just name the code replacement. It will be called welcome name. Sure, all right. Save, and the next step. Now I just have to confirm that everything is fine. Now that my HTML block is ready, I'm able to go to automations and automate implementing it on the website. So let's go to automations and create a new automation. It will start with a page visit trigger. The URL is equal to this. I can save it and now activate the HTML block. All right, it's connected. HTML block, I save it. I can save the automation. Each time the condition is met, save. Right, so now let's take a look at how this HTML block worked on our website. So I refresh the page. And as you can see, instead of just welcome, I have welcome LechTest123 because this is the first name of this visitor that I've provided. So it worked fine.